Hello, good evening, and welcome. I'm John Lazarus with Stories Matter and DNA Publishing. Lots of writers hate the rigidity of a writing formula. After all, writing should be an organic process, not something measured in steps. You're not making yellow curry or performing funeral rites or attending AA meetings that the judge forced you to attend after puking into the open window of a police cruiser during a wild President's Day celebration. But if you want to write a story quickly, and the thought of getting rich and famous and finally being able to abandon your family doesn't motivate you enough, a good writing formula can be a big help. This writing system was created by Antonya Nelson, a writer whose work I won't mention or link to because I don't believe in other authors getting more attention than me. But take my word for it, she's a pro who knows her stuff. We'll put on our thinking caps and possibly make your process even more convoluted on this edition of Stories Matter. Today's video is brought to you by Johnny Walker. No, not the whiskey, but brought to you by a literal person named Johnny Walker. Johnny is just a regular 57-year-old guy from Gary, Indiana, who loves cats and music and was willing to pay the $50 fee that none of the corporations I asked to sponsor today's video would, to find a companion. Johnny doesn't have an email account or a phone number, but he told me you can usually see him on Wednesday mornings at 9 on a bench near Green Lake. He'll be the guy trying to fish with a net made from his wife's wedding gown. Step 1. Write about something that happened to you. The first thing you need to do is get words on the page, and there's no better place to start than your own life. Think of something that would be emotionally resonant. You could write about a priest who molested you, or an uncle who molested you, or the dog you had to put down because you could have sworn it was somehow knowingly and purposefully molesting you. When I used this method, I wrote about my first wife, particularly about how she disappeared shortly after I discovered she was a serial bigamist. Step 2. Rewrite the same story from a different point of view. As the counselor in my road rage support group taught me, it's important to take a step back and see things from other people's perspectives. This applies just as much to writers. To most people, it might have made sense to tell of my first wife's bigamy from my perspective. But I realized my disillusionment and heartbreak might be muddied by the fact that I was cheating on her with the woman who would eventually become my second and by far favorite wife. So instead, I wanted to get inside her head and try to explore the psychology of women who married others compulsively. Step 3. Create a ticking clock. Stories rely on momentum. In real life, drinking too much on President's Day might lead to a court-ordered community service that derails your efforts to track down your missing wife. But a story can't have random digressions like these. A ticking clock not only propels the story forward, but also culminates with a climax that readers expect and crave. When I rewrote my story from my wife's perspective, I gave her a father who was dying of cirrhosis. She had 9 months to scrape up enough cash to buy a liver for him on the black market. In real life, I'd never met Barbara's family, as she told me they wouldn't like me because they were racist against the Irish. Step 4. Introduce significant objects. Frodo's ring, the suitcase in Pulp Fiction, the magic golf club in The Legend of Bagger Vance. Fiction relies on symbols to deepen the meaning of your story. If you're lucky, the symbol might already be present in your narrative. But you also want to avoid cliches. Something like an engagement ring would probably come across as tacky. Luckily for me, Barbara and I never exchanged them, as we'd gotten married so quickly we both forgot. So instead, I chose a special duffel bag in which she kept all her different fake IDs and cash and wigs. Step 5. Establish a transitional situation. Sometimes this is easy to forget, as many of us go to work, write, and watch YouTube every single day until we die. But fiction depends on change. Your character must have some significant shift in their life or situation. For my story, that was easy. It was the moment Barbara decided to leave me. Of course, I had to change the circumstances a bit. In the story, Barbara sneaks up on me from behind and bashes me on the head when I find the duffel bag in the closet, and when I come to, she's gone. In real life, I discovered Barbara missing after returning from an erotic 3-day holiday getaway with my soon-to-be second wife at Disney World. Step 6. Integrate a world event. You can do this to be symbolic, to anchor your story in a way that's more relatable, or to help market it. I played around with a few ideas as I was editing. I first thought about setting it during the French Revolution, for example, but abandoned that idea when I remembered that cell phones didn't exist then. Instead, to underline the sense of hidden intent and double identities, I set the story during the final season of Hannah Montana. Step 7. Develop binary forces. Jocks versus nerds. Snobs versus slobs. Shiites versus Sunnis. All classic rivalries that make for compelling drama and drive the narrative. In my story, there was already a clear binary, man versus woman, but I wanted to go a bit deeper than that. In real life, I didn't know Barbara all that well, or at all, really, it turned out. I mean, she said she liked Shakespeare, and tennis, and hardcore porn just like I did, but I realized those commonalities were probably just part of the con, a way to worm her way into my life. Anyway, in my story, I established a secondary binary by having her be in favor of the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, while the husband was partial to the Copenhagen interpretation that insists of wave function collapse after measurement takes place. Step 8. I actually don't remember Step 8. Step 9. Embrace experimentation. Usually this is the point in the video where I tell you to ignore everything I just said and do something completely different. And this video will be no exception. But you don't have to throw away a perfectly good story just because it might still be too embarrassingly close to what happened to you in real life. Keep playing around with the format. Write the story as a Yelp review. Write it as something your character brings up on his friend's dad's deathbed. For me, the only thing I did was change the point of view again, this time to the second person. Turns out lots of people are really insecure about their relationships, and I was able to play into their anxieties pretty well. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and hit that subscribe button, and I'll leave you with this week's Author Quote of the Week. See you on the next one.